The message came on a Tuesday morning. Was drinking her third cup of coffee when the screens in the United Earth Defense Command Center turned red. She put down her cup and looked at the main display. Numbers and symbols moved across it like a river of light. The translation software was working hard to understand something. "What is this?" she asked. Her assistant, a young man named, ran to her side. His face was pale. "Ambassador, we are receiving a transmission. It is coming from outside our solar system." Felt her heart beat faster. Humanity had known for 50 years that they were not alone. They had found old signals, dead ships floating in space, and ruins on distant moons. But no living alien had ever spoken to them directly. Until now. "Put it on the main screen," she said. The symbols changed into words. The translation was not perfect but could understand it. She read it slowly, and with each line her blood grew colder. "Greetings to the species known as humans. You have been observed. You have been measured. You have been found acceptable for inclusion in the Galactic Council. As a new member species, you are required to pay tribute. You will send the following: 30% of your mineral resources, 20% of your energy output, and 10,000 of your kind to serve in council labor programs. You have one rotation of your planet to respond. Failure to comply will result in correction." "This is not a request. This is an order." High Speaker, voice of the Galactic Council. The room was silent, read the message again. Then she read it a third time. The words did not change. "They want us to pay them," said. His voice was shaking. "They want our resources. They want our people." "I can read," said quietly. She walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Seoul was busy with morning traffic. People were going to work, to school, to their normal lives. They did not know that everything had changed. They did not know that somewhere in the stars, beings with power beyond imagination had just told humanity to kneel. Was 62 years old. She had spent her whole life working for peace. She had helped end 3 wars on Earth. She had brought nations together. She believed in talking, in understanding, in finding common ground. But as she read the message again in her mind, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Anger. "Get me Admiral," she said, "and contact every world leader. We need to talk." 2 hours later was in a secure meeting room with faces on screens all around her. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists from every nation looked at her. Admiral sat beside her. He was an old soldier with gray hair and calm eyes. He had commanded Earth's space fleet for 20 years. "You have all seen the message," said. "The question is simple. What do we do?" The room exploded with voices. Some leaders wanted to negotiate, some wanted to fight, some wanted to hide. The arguments went on for hours. "We cannot fight them," said one president. "We do not even know how many ships they have. We do not know their technology. They could destroy us in a day. So we should just give them what they want," another leader shouted. "Give them our children to work as slaves." "It says labor programs, not slavery." "What is the difference?" Admiral raised his hand. The room fell silent. When the old admiral spoke, people listened. "I have been a soldier for 45 years, he said slowly. "I have seen many enemies. I have learned one thing. When someone demands tribute, they are not asking to be your friend. They are telling you that you are below them. They are telling you that you are weak. If we pay once, we will pay forever, and each time they will take more." "But we cannot win a war against them," someone said. "Maybe not," agreed. "But there is something worse than losing a war. There is losing yourself. If we bow to this demand, we tell the universe that humans can be bought. We tell them that we have a price. We tell them that our freedom, our dignity, our very souls can be traded for safety." Nodded, she had always respected. They had worked together for many years, but she had never seen him like this. There was fire in his old eyes. "We need more information," she said. "Before we decide anything, we need to know who we are dealing with." She turned to her science team. A young woman named stepped forward. She was the head of the Alien Studies Department, even though she was only 31 years old. Her mind was sharp like a knife. "We have been analyzing their signal," said. "The transmission came from a point near the center of the galaxy. Based on the signal strength and the technology required to send it, we estimate they are at least 1,000 years ahead of us. Maybe more." "1,000 years," someone whispered. "Yes," continued. "But that is not all. The message mentioned correction. We found old records in the alien ruins we discovered on Mars. They speak of the Council, they speak of tribute, and they speak of what happens to those who refuse." "What happens?" asked. His face was hard. "The ruins on Mars are 3 million years old. The species that lived there is gone. Every trace of them was destroyed. We believe the Council did not just defeat them, they erased them." The room was very quiet now, could hear her own breathing. 3 million years ago, a whole civilization had said no to the Council, and now nothing remained of them but broken stones on a dead world. "So we have a choice," said. "We can bow and live as servants, or we can stand and maybe die as free people." Looked at the faces on the screens. She saw fear in many of them, but she also saw something else. Something that had burned in human hearts since the first cave person had picked up a rock and decided not to run from the darkness. Pride. "We have one day to decide," she said. "I suggest we use it well." The meeting ended, but stayed in her chair for a long time, staring at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, beings of great power were waiting for humanity's answer. They expected fear. They expected submission. They had done this many times before. They did not know humans very well. The next 12 hours changed Earth forever. News of the alien message spread like fire. At first, governments tried to keep it secret. But secrets do not last long in the modern world. Someone leaked the transmission, and within minutes, every screen on the planet showed the same words. Tribute resources, labor correction. People reacted in different ways. Some panicked. Stores were emptied of food and water. Some prayed in churches, temples, and mosques. Some went to work as if nothing had happened because they did not know what else to do. But something strange also happened, something beautiful. People stopped fighting each other. In the Middle East, soldiers put down their guns. In Asia, old enemies shook hands. In Africa, tribes that had been at war for generations shared meals together. It was as if humanity had suddenly remembered that they were all one family. Admiral watched the news from his office in the defense center. He saw crowds gathering in every major city, not to protest or riot, but to wait. They were waiting for their leaders to decide. "The whole world is watching us," said. He stood behind, looking at the screens. "Good," replied. "They should see what we choose. Whatever happens next, they deserve to know." Entered the room. She looked tired. She had not slept since the message arrived. "The world leaders are ready for the final vote," she said. "But before we begin, there is something you should see." She handed a tablet. On it was a video. A young girl, maybe 10 years old, was standing in front of a camera. She was in a school classroom somewhere in the countryside. "My name is Sarah," the girl said. "I am in 5th grade. My teacher told us about the aliens. She said they want to take people away. She said they want us to give them things. I do not understand politics. I do not understand war, but I know one thing. My grandfather fought in a war long ago. He told me that some things are more important than being safe. He said that freedom is like air. You do not notice it until someone takes it away. I think we should not give the aliens anything. I think we should tell them no. That is all I wanted to say." The video ended, stared at the screen for a long moment. "How many videos like this are there?" he asked. "Thousands," said. "They are coming from everywhere. Children, old people, workers, teachers. Everyone is saying the same thing. They want us to fight. They want us to stand," corrected. "There is a difference." Nodded slowly. He understood. Fighting was about anger and violence. Standing was about dignity and choice. The people of Earth were not asking for war, they were asking not to kneel. The final meeting began 1 hour later. This time there were no arguments. The leaders had heard from their people. They knew what humanity wanted. "We will now vote," said. "The question is simple. Do we accept the Council's demands or do we refuse?" One by one, the leaders gave their answers. Korea refuses. Japan refuses. China refuses. India refuses. The United States refuses. Russia refuses. Brazil refuses. Nigeria refuses. Germany refuses. The votes kept coming. Country after country, nation after nation. Not a single one chose to submit. When the last vote was counted, the result was clear. Earth said no. "Then it is decided," said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "We will refuse the tribute. We will stand together." "Now we need to write our response," said. "What do we tell them?" This question led to more discussion. Some wanted to send a long message explaining humanity's values. Some wanted to send a formal diplomatic refusal. Some wanted to send threats. Raised her hand. Everyone looked at her. The young scientist had been quiet during the whole meeting. "May I make a suggestion?" she asked. "Speak," said. Stood up, her eyes were bright. "We have been thinking about this wrong. We are treating them like equals. We are trying to explain ourselves to them, but why should we? They sent us an order, not a question. They did not ask us to join them. They told us to obey. So I say we answer in kind." "What do you mean?" a leader asked. "One word," said. "Just one word. No explanation, no fear, no negotiation. Let them understand that humans do not explain themselves to bullies. Let them see that we are not afraid. Let them know that our answer is final." "What word?" asked. Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had found their courage. "No." The room was silent. Then slowly Admiral began to laugh. It was a deep, warm laugh. Others joined him. The tension that had filled the room for hours broke like a wave against rocks. "No," repeated. "Just no, I like it very much." Thought about it. The diplomat in her wanted to send something longer, something more formal, but she looked at the faces around her and saw the truth. Sometimes the simplest answer was the strongest. "All in favor of sending a single word response?" she asked. Every hand went up. "Then it is decided. Prepare the transmission." The message was sent 3 hours before the deadline. It traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying the voice of 8 billion people. Just one word, but it held the weight of all human history. Every war they had fought, every tyrant they had defeated, every time they had chosen death over chains. No. Back on Earth, people gathered to watch the transmission leave. Giant screens showed the signal moving outward from the planet. It was just a small line of light, but everyone knew what it meant. "Do you think they will attack?" asked. The old admiral looked at the sky. Somewhere up there, aliens with power beyond imagination were about to receive humanity's answer. They would not be happy. "Probably," said, "but that is a problem for tomorrow. Today we stood up. Today we remembered who we are. Whatever comes next, no one can take that away from us." Across the world, people held hands. Strangers hugged each other. Old enemies stood side by side. For the first time in human history, Earth was truly united, not by force or politics, but by choice. They had chosen to be free. Watched the celebration from her window. She knew that dark days were coming. She knew that the council would not accept their refusal quietly. But in that moment, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Because if humanity could stand together against the stars, then maybe, just maybe, they could survive whatever came next. The stars were waiting, the universe was listening. And Earth had given its answer. The message reached the Galactic Council, 7 days later. High Speaker was in the great chamber when it arrived. He was a tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes that could see in every direction at once. He had led the council for 300 years. In all that time, he had never been surprised. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species beg for mercy. He had ordered the destruction of worlds that refused to obey. He expected humans to be the same as all the others. The chamber was filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds. They sat in circles that rose up toward a ceiling made of living crystal. Light from distant stars poured through the walls, making everything glow like a dream. "The human response has arrived," announced a small creature with too many legs. It was the council's chief messenger. "Display it," said. He leaned back in his chair, already bored. He knew what it would say. New species always sent long messages. They would beg. They would bargain. They would promise anything to avoid correction. In the end, they always paid. The message appeared on the central display. Every eye in the chamber turned to look. One word hung in the air. "No." Silence fell over the chamber. The kind of silence that comes before a storm stared at the word. He blinked all 4 of his eyes, one at a time. "Is that all?" he asked. "Yes, High Speaker, that is the complete message." "Run it again. There must be an error." The message was run again and again. Each time the same single word appeared. No other data, no explanation, no fear. "Just no." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Representatives whispered to each other. In 10,000 years of council history, no species had ever responded like this. New races begged. They cried. They bargained. They sent gifts. They sent their most beautiful members as offerings. They did anything and everything to avoid the council's anger. No one had ever just said no. "This is impossible," said a representative from the merchant worlds. His name was Kel, and he was shaped like a floating ball of light. "They must not understand what they are doing. Perhaps the translation was wrong." The translation was perfect. His voice echoed through the chamber. Everyone froze. The human had somehow added her voice to the message. It was playing now, filling the great hall. "We understand exactly what we are doing. We understand your power. We understand what you have done to others. We understand what you will try to do to us. And our answer is no. Not because we think we can win. Not because we are not afraid, but because some things matter more than survival. Freedom matters more. Dignity matters more. Being able to look at ourselves in the mirror matters more. You asked for tribute. You asked for our resources. You asked for our people. We give you nothing. Come and take them if you can. But know this, we will fight. Every human on every world will fight. We will fight until the last one of us falls. And even then our ghosts will keep fighting. Because that is who we are. That is what it means to be human." The message ended. The chamber was dead quiet. Stood up slowly. His gray face showed no emotion, but inside, something strange was happening. For the first time in 300 years, he felt uncertain. "Play the biological readings," he ordered. The display changed. It showed data collected from the human transmission, heart rates, brain activity, stress markers. The council always analyzed these things. It helped them understand how afraid new species were. The numbers appeared on the screen. Every representative in the chamber leaned forward to look. "That cannot be right," Kel said. "Run it again." The numbers stayed the same. 0 fear markers, 0 stress responses. The humans who sent this message were not afraid, not even a little bit. "Impossible," whispered. "No species faces the council without fear. It is not possible." An old voice spoke from the highest circle. It belonged to the oldest member of the council. He was so ancient that no one remembered what species he had once been. His body was more machine than flesh now, but his mind was still sharp. "I have seen this before," said slowly. "Once long ago, before most of you were born." "When?" demanded. "The hunters of the Dark Rim," replied. They were a species that lived at the edge of the galaxy. They were small, they were weak, they had no great technology, but they also had no fear. When we sent them the tribute order, they laughed. They actually laughed. What happened to them? Was quiet for a moment. His ancient eyes seemed to look at something far away. We won, he said finally. We destroyed their worlds. We hunted them across the stars. It took 200 years and cost us more ships than any war before or since. In the end, we killed them all. He paused. Or so we thought. But sometimes, even now, ships disappear in the dark rim. Crews are found dead with no marks on their bodies. And there are whispers that the hunters are not truly gone, that they became something else. Something that lives in the spaces between stars. The chamber was very quiet now. "What are you saying?" asked. "That we should be afraid of these humans." "I am saying that fear is useful," replied. "It keeps species in line, it makes them predictable, but a species without fear, that is dangerous, that is unpredictable. The humans know they cannot win against us. They know we could destroy them, and they still said no. That means they have decided that death is better than submission. That makes them the most dangerous kind of enemy." "They are primitives," Kel argued. "They barely have faster-than-light travel. Our fleet could destroy their planet in a day." "Then why are you afraid?" asked quietly. Kel had no answer. Looked at the human message still floating on the display. Just one word. So small, so simple. But it had shaken the council more than any army could. "We will send the fleet," declared. "We will show these humans what happens to those who defy the council. Let this be a lesson to all species who think they can say no to us." Shook his ancient head slowly. "You did not listen, but you will learn. Oh yes, you will learn." The order went out that same day. 100 warships began their journey toward a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. They carried weapons that could break moons and burn oceans. They had destroyed civilizations before. They expected to do so again. None of them knew that on Earth, humanity was waiting for them. Not with fear, with a plan. 3 weeks passed before the alien fleet arrived. Admiral used every minute. He did not sleep. He did not rest. He worked like a man who knew that the future of his entire species depended on what he did next. And it did. "Show me everything," he told on the first day. "Every piece of alien technology we have ever found, every strange signal we have ever recorded, every secret project we have ever started. I want to know all of it." Took him underground. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, there was a facility that did not exist on any map. It had been built 50 years ago, when humanity first discovered they were not alone. Its purpose was simple: prepare for the day when the aliens came. "This is Project Dawn," said as they walked through endless corridors of steel and light. "We have been studying alien technology for 5 decades. Most of it we do not understand, but some of it we have learned to use." She showed him weapons that could cut through any metal, shields that could stop anything short of a nuclear bomb, engines that could move ships faster than light. "Why did we not use these before?" asked. "Because they were not ready," replied, "and because we were afraid that if we showed our true power, the galaxy would notice us. We wanted to stay hidden. We wanted to be left alone." She smiled sadly. That plan did not work. Looked at the weapons and machines around him. Hope began to grow in his chest. "Can we fight them?" "We cannot defeat 100 warships," admitted. "Not in a straight battle, but we do not have to defeat them. We just have to survive long enough to make them think twice." Understood. This was not about winning. It was about making the enemy pay such a high price that they would choose to leave rather than continue fighting. "What do you need?" he asked. "Time," said, "and trust." Gave her both. Across the world, factories began working day and night. Old mines were reopened. Ships that had been retired were brought back to service. Every human who could hold a tool was put to work. Handled the diplomacy. She sent messages to the alien ruins they had found throughout the solar system, not to the Council but to others, to the species that had been conquered, to the races that lived in fear, to anyone who might be listening. "We are not asking for help," her message said. "We know you are afraid. We know what the Council has done to you, but watch us. Watch what we do. Watch what happens when someone stands up. Maybe, if we survive, you will find your courage too." Some species ignored her, others sent warnings, but a few, just a few, sent quiet messages of support, hidden signals that said they were watching, that they were hopping, that for the first time in thousands of years they dared to dream of freedom. Commander worked without rest. She was everywhere at once, checking calculations, adjusting plans, solving problems that seemed impossible. Her team loved her because she never asked them to do anything she would not do herself. She was the first to arrive and the last to leave. "Why do you push yourself so hard?" asked her one night. They were both exhausted, running on coffee and determination. "Because I am afraid," admitted. Her voice was quiet. "I am terrified, actually. But I learned something a long time ago. Fear is not the enemy. Giving up is the enemy. As long as I am moving, as long as I am working, the fear cannot win." Nodded slowly, he understood. "Besides," added with a small smile, "I refuse to let some gray-skinned aliens tell me what to do. I have never liked being told what to do." Laughed. It was the first time anyone had laughed in weeks. The day before the fleet arrived, Admiral called a final meeting. Every commander was present. Every ship captain, every soldier and pilot who would fight in the coming battle, stood before them. He was old and tired, but his voice was strong. "Tomorrow the enemy arrives," he said. "They have more ships than us. They have better weapons. They have thousands of years of experience destroying worlds. By every measure, we should lose." He paused and looked at the faces before him. "But I want to tell you something. I have read our history, all of it, and I found something interesting. Humans almost never win when they should. We are not strong enough. We are not smart enough. We do not have enough resources. And yet somehow we keep winning. Do you know why?" No one spoke. "Because we are too stubborn to know when we are beaten," said. "Because we fight when we should run. Because we hope when we should give up. Because something in our blood, something in our bones, refuses to accept defeat. The aliens do not know this about us. They think we are like all the others. They think we will break. They are wrong." He raised his fist. "Tomorrow we show them what humans are made of. Tomorrow we fight not just for Earth, but for every species that has ever been crushed under the Council's boot. Tomorrow we become the spark that lights a fire across the galaxy. And even if we fall, that fire will keep burning. Because that is what we do. We burn. We fight. We never ever give up." The room erupted in cheers. Men and women who had been afraid found their courage. Soldiers who had doubted themselves felt strength flow into their hearts. In that moment, they were not individuals anymore. They were humanity, united and unbreakable. That night stood with on the roof of the command center. They looked up at the stars together. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," admitted, "but I will fight anyway." Nodded. "That is all any of us can do." In the distance, new lights appeared in the sky. The alien fleet had arrived early. 100 warships hung above Earth like a promise of death. Their weapons were charging. Their crews were preparing. They expected to find a terrified planet begging for mercy. Instead, they found a wall of human ships rising to meet them. Smaller, fewer, but burning with a light that the Council had never seen before. The light of defiance. The light of humanity. His voice crackled across every communication channel on Earth. "All ships, this is Admiral. The enemy is here. Let us welcome them properly." The battle for Earth was about to begin. The first shot was fired at exactly midnight. A beam of white light from the Council flagship struck the human defense line. It was meant to destroy a dozen ships instantly. It was meant to show humanity how weak they truly were. The beam hits shield network and stopped. On the Council flagship, Admiral stared at his screens in disbelief. His weapons had broken moons before. They had burned oceans. They had turned entire continents to glass. And now they had done nothing. "Impossible," he whispered. "Fire again." The fleet fired together. 100 beams of destruction rained down on the human ships. The sky above Earth turned white with energy. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet 10 times over. When the light faded, the human ships were still there. Hal demanded. He never got an answer. Human ships surged forward. They were small and fast, like wolves hunting larger prey. They did not try to match the alien firepower. Instead, they targeted weak points. Engines, sensors, communication arrays. They hit and ran, never staying in one place long enough to be destroyed. Admiral commanded from the bridge of his flagship, the Soul. His old eyes watched the battle unfold on a dozen screens. "Focus fire on their left flank," he ordered. "How long can the shields hold?" "Long enough," her voice crackled back. "But not forever. We need to make them bleed before they break through." Nodded, he understood. The shields were alien technology that humans had barely learned to use. They would not last against a sustained attack, but they did not need to last forever. They just needed to last long enough to show the Council that this fight would cost them. The battle raged for hours. Human pilots flew missions that should have been suicide. They dove between the giant alien warships, firing at point-blank range. Many died, but for every human ship that fell, they took an alien ship with them. The Council fleet was not used to this. Their enemies usually broke and ran. Their enemies usually begged for mercy. Humans did neither. When their ships were damaged, they kept fighting. When their weapons failed, they rammed their ships into the enemy. When they died screaming defiance, not fear. Watched his fleet take damage it had never taken before. 20 ships lost, then 30, then 40. His crews were terrified. They had never faced an enemy like this. "What are these creatures?" one of his officers whispered. Had no answer. In the command center on Earth watched the battle through tears. She saw human ships explode. She saw pilots die. Each death was a knife in her heart, but she also saw something else. She saw the alien fleet hesitating. She saw them pulling back, regrouping, unsure. Humanity was hurting them. "It is working," said beside her. "They are afraid." "Not yet," replied, "but soon." High above led her squadron directly at the Council flagship. Her ship was damaged. Her shields were failing. Half her weapons were offline. She did not care. "This is Commander to all ships," she broadcast. "Follow me. We are going to say hello to their leader." 100 pilots responded. They formed up behind her, a wedge of broken ships and determined souls. They flew straight at the largest vessel in the enemy fleet. Saw them coming. For the first time in his long career, he felt something cold in his stomach. It was fear. "Fire everything," he ordered. "Stop them." The flagship unleashed every weapon it had. Energy beams crossed the void. Missiles flew in swarms. The space between the two forces became a wall of death. Flew through it. Her ship twisted and turned, dodging by centimeters. She lost pilots behind her. She heard their final words on the radio. She did not stop. She could not stop. Everything depended on reaching that flagship. When she was close enough to see the alien hull with her own eyes, she opened a communication channel. "Admiral," she said calmly, "this is Commander of Earth. I have a message for you and your council." "You are dead," replied. "Your shields are gone, your weapons are empty, you have lost." "Maybe," agreed. "But before I die, I want you to know something. I am just one human. There are 8 billion more behind me. Every single one of them is willing to do what I am about to do. Can you say the same about your people?" Did not answer. "I did not think so," said. "Goodbye, Admiral." She pushed her engines to maximum and aimed her ship at the flagship's bridge. Screamed orders, weapons fired, point defenses activated, but was too close too fast. She saw the hull rushing toward her. She thought about her family, her friends, her planet. She smiled. At the last second, she ejected. Her pod shot away from the ship just before it struck the flagship. The impact tore through the alien vessel's command center. Admiral and his entire bridge crew died instantly. The flagship went dark. Across the battlefield, the Council fleet stopped fighting. Their commander was dead. Their flagship was destroyed, and the humans were still coming, still fighting, still refusing to die. The surviving alien captains made a decision. They had come to punish a primitive species. Instead, they had found something they could not defeat, not without losing everything. One by one, the Council ships began to retreat. Watched them go. He wanted to cheer, but he was too tired. Too many good people had died, but they had won. Against all odds, they had won. His voice reached him through the radio. "Admiral, we are detecting a transmission from the retreating fleet. They want to talk." "Put them through," said. A new voice filled the channel. It was the oldest voice had ever heard. "This is Counselor," it said. "I told them this would happen. I told them you were different. They did not listen, but I am listening now. What do you want, humans?" Thought about the question. He thought about the dead. He thought about the living. He thought about floating in her escape pod somewhere in the battlefield. "We want to be left alone," he said finally. "We want our freedom, and we want you to know that if you ever come back, we will fight again, as many times as it takes, forever if necessary." Was quiet for a long moment. "I believe you," he said at last, "and that is why I will recommend that the Council never return to your world. You are not worth the cost. Goodbye, humans. May you find what you are looking for." The transmission ended. The last alien ships jumped away. Earth's sky was clear again. 3 days later, they found escape pod. She was alive, barely. She had broken 7 bones and lost a lot of blood. When she opened her eyes and saw Admiral standing beside her hospital bed, she tried to salute. "Did we win?" she asked. "Yes," said. His eyes were wet. "We won." Smiled and closed her eyes. "Good, I think I will sleep now." She slept for 3 days. When she woke up, she found that she had become a hero, not just on Earth but across the galaxy. Other species had watched the battle. They had seen humanity stand against the Council, and for the first time in thousands of years, they began to hope. Within a year, 5 species had refused to pay tribute. Within 5 years, 20 more joined them. The Council's power began to crumble, one world at a time. And it all started with one word. No. Ambassador lived to see the day when the Galactic Council fell apart completely. On that day, she stood on a stage before representatives from 100 free worlds. They had come to thank humanity. They had come to celebrate. Looked at the crowd and smiled. "We did not save the galaxy," she said. "All we did was remember something important. Freedom is not free. It must be fought for. It must be defended. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand up and say one simple word." She paused and looked up at the stars. "No." The crowd cheered. The sound echoed across worlds. And somewhere, in the endless darkness between stars, the universe remembered what humanity had taught it. Even the smallest voice can shake the heavens. If it refuses to be silent,